Thank you for tuning in to Uncommon Women, a podcast that provides a platform for women of all walks of life to share their upbringings, life lessons learned, experiences, and journeys to come. Uncommon Women speaks on topics that can relate to all women. We share, we listen, we laugh, we cry, and we empower each other to be the best uncommon woman that they can be. Ultimately, we are cultivating a global movement of women supporting women. Women supporting entrepreneurship, relationships, self-love, and so much more. We inspire each other to make an impact on this world for the better. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to Uncommon Women. Now, finally, grab a seat, get comfortable, and hear from your wonderful hosts, Shanira and Jenny Lee. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're watching, Kings and Queens. My name is Shanira.
And I'm Jenny Lee.
And we are Uncommon Women. And today, Thursdays, we typically have guest speakers that come on and share their testimonies in regards to what they've been through in life and what they're doing now for the community. Unfortunately, today's guest speaker had a family emergency, which is fine. So we decided to actually just come on and speak on today's topic, which is about people pleasing. Today, we'll be actually talking about the dangers of people pleasing, ways to stop people pleasing, and some signs to see if you're an actual people pleaser. So before we get into the good stuff, for those that may not be aware if you're actually a people pleaser or not, something that you can think about as a people pleaser is someone that actually puts others' needs ahead of their own. A person that has a hard time saying no and typically just, doesn't have any healthy boundaries for their self. I've noticed that a lot of people pleasers are people that want approval. And let's face it, a lot of our approval identity comes from our childhood, when our parents see us dressed up, maybe in dresses, or as kids, boys that have fresh haircuts, we applaud them for looking nice or being cute or being fly when they're dressed up, and they typically have that approval that they need to be accepted based off of pleasing or making someone happy. And that's typically not how life is supposed to go. Your acceptance has to come within. So now that you guys know about people pleasing, we're going to get into the dangers of how people can typically turn into be people pleasers. Generally, is there something that you wanted to start off with before I give my input on that?
Well, I think when you start becoming a people pleaser, you do everything in your power to just make sure that everybody else is happy. Then you're not being happy. You start to come up with excuses just to want to do things or be noticed or start attention seeking, so that so you can feel wanted or loved, or just to make sure that you're or validated, you know and like you said, Shanira, I think that also comes a lot from the feel of the rejection of trying to you just want to feel validated, so you will go beyond and above to do things, even doing things and getting you in trouble, knowing that it's not right, but you want to be part of the in crowd. You want to be you're going to do whatever it takes, even if there's consequences behind it, because you want to be validated, you want to feel included, you want to feel wanted.
That's good. You made a good point. Fear of rejection. I feel like a lot of people that are people pleasers, they don't want to disappoint the other person. They don't want to disappoint the crowd or people that's around them. They feel as though if they're happy, that boosts up their happiness. And making someone else happy shouldn't identify to your happiness. Your happiness has to come within. I feel like people that are people pleasers have a difficult time making independent decisions based on their needs, their wants, their boundaries, and what's safe for them. They always depend on what someone else's needs are rather than just having healthy boundaries for themselves and
Mhm.
knowing the needs for themselves.
Yeah, that it very truth, and that's true because then they get to a point where they start. It's difficult. They make it. They're not able to make right decisions. The
Mm-hmm.
decisions they make, there's the decisions they make is not even it's not even on about them. It becomes more of the person than themselves, so this is the part where they start to have difficult having setting boundaries. Everyone needs to have boundaries, and sometimes when someone knows that they're doing everything more and beyond, then that's when this person starts to feel like, okay, they can use you, they can drain you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, not all, but a lot of people are very selfish in this in the world that we live in today. They're always taking, 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 and there's
Hmm.
no balance to where they see that they're um outstaying a welcome or um abusing someone that's just very helpful or authentic and
Hmm.
just the like to see people happy. I believe that a lot of people pleasers have low self-esteem, uh and not sure how to discern from the value of themselves um, by people pleasing. Your value shouldn't come from making someone else happy. Your value has to come from within yourself. The value of yourself is a part of self love, is a part of having confidence within yourself. And it shouldn't be based off of helping someone else be happy or just doing things for the work of others to make sure that you're in a good standpoint. Your standpoint in your life has to be coming from within. And once you do that consistently from within, you'll be able to set those healthy boundaries, say no to things when you know it's over your head or you have way too
Hmm.
much going on, and you won't feel bad for saying no. I think a lot of people pleasers feel bad when they can't do everything. And they don't want to upset people because they have good hearts. They generally have good hearts, but they burn themselves out from trying to do everything and not setting boundaries.
That's true indeed. Because when you don't set boundaries, like I said a few minutes ago, and you're not paying attention to that person, like not everyone, like you said, it's everyone's self. There's certain people that are selfish out there, and believe me, I know because I was a people pleaser for a long time, and I would try to do things to, like, even with just making sure to felt to be known,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't know sometimes. I think sometimes we don't know how to set those boundaries either
Mm-hmm.
because we're so stuck on doing the same thing over and over and going above and beyond for everyone. We, again, we don't know how to make those decisions and trying to set those boundaries. But I think also it's a healthy way to set a boundary is to set a time limit
Mm-hmm.
on when you want to do something for someone. Try to set that time limit. Okay, well, I can do this for you, but I can't, it's like, okay, you're gonna do something for a friend and just say, hey, I can only do this for a certain amount of time because I have something else to do. But also do not make an excuse. Like, don't lie, about, hey, I can only, but just be honest and be like, listen, I can only do this for a certain amount of time because, you know, you're putting that boundary because, because you already know once you do something for that person, they're going to go over and beyond above the time. So you tell them, hey, I'm only can give you an hour of my time. If they can't understand that boundary, then it goes to show you, okay, well, I'm gonna have to set more boundaries with this person so they can really understand that my time is precious because they didn't your time before, they just took all of your time up and you just allow them to do it.
Yeah, people take advantage of you. And
Mhm.
you gotta have some type of discernment and knowing, okay, they're taking advantage of the situation. I set the boundaries, I gave them my schedule, and they're still trying to make their own schedule after I just gave them my schedule. Don't let people take advantage of you. You do not need others to like you based on what you do. Liking has to come within, you know? So let's talk about that. What are some ways that we talked about healthy boundaries? Is there any other ways that you want to discuss in regards to how to stop people pleasing, or some tools that people can do to avoid people pleasing?
I think one of them is to say no without conviction. I think that's a whole
Mm,
three thing, is to be able to be like, okay, I'm allowed it to say no. I'm allowed it to, to be able to do this and be like, depending on the situation and how you want to help the other person. It's okay. Don't feel bad. You don't need to feel bad, because if the same way, I think when people helping each other, sometimes it's not always about receiving, because a lot of people do take. And
mhm.
sometimes, some people, they want it, they're like, oh, well, if I'm giving, I'm receiving. Sometimes it's not always like that. It's okay to want to help others without feeling guilty and saying no. I've had to learn to say no myself as a past person that was a people pleaser. I did used to feel bad, but then when you get to a point when you start putting those boundaries, once again, that we had discussed, don't ever feel bad for wanting to putting you first and being able to say no.
I agree. I agree. One thing that I think about in regards to how to stop is stop agreeing if you don't really agree.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be the type of person to be like, "Oh yeah, I'll be able to do it. I'll be able to do it." And then like later
Mm-hmm.
down the day or the road or the week, it's like, I really do not have time to do that. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
now you're in a situation where you already gave your word, and I'm a person that tries to keep their word. So I'll
Mm-hmm.
burn myself out trying to please someone or trying to squeeze something in, knowing that I really don't have the time for it. So if you
Mm-hmm.
don't agree to something and you know that it's not in your power to happen, don't agree with something. You
Mm-hmm.
know, choose to say no, choose to make those boundaries, like we said several times, and um, don't have the fear of conflict of upsetting people, because if they
Mm-hmm.
truly care about you, if they truly have a relationship with you, if they truly love you, whether it's a friend, a family, your partner, your significant other, even your child, they will understand that you have to set boundaries for yourself, to take care of yourself. And if they truly know you, they know that if you had the time and you're very authentic in what you do and you're a person to keep your word, they will be okay with accepting that you can't do it. Don't be upset to upset someone else. You have to have a safe space within yourself.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be able to take care of ourselves before we can help others. And a lot of people get lost through that journey of people pleasing, because
Yeah.
they don't want to upset people. They really care about people, and then they lose their self, and then you
Yep.
end up upsetting yourself at the long run, because deep down inside you enjoy making
Yeah.
people happy, but you're gonna burn yourself out.
Yes, very true indeed. And I also wanted to bring up, like, be watchful, observe the person around you and relationships, because I think that's important, because sometimes we meet people and we want to make them happy, but sometimes you have to be able to watch for signs if this person can be very manipulative. That's very unhealthy. So I think in that area we must just think about ourselves, because sometimes we don't always notice when somebody's really trying to be conniving, because we're so, like I said, we're already people pleasing so much, we don't see that. So that becomes an unhealthy boundary, because we allow people to convince us in so many ways. It's mind boggling that, how somebody can really gaslight you, manipulate you, and sometimes you
Hmm.
don't really know what it is, if that they really are. I mean, so I think for as also as a healthy boundary, also just make sure you're being observant in the person that you're trying to help, or you know do something for, because I think that's very important, as being, again, as being wise, and just being watchful and very observant and people, because people will show you who they are. People will show
Mhm.
you who they are. If you're not watching yourself with people, I'm not saying everyone, like Shanera said, there are selfish people. Not everyone's like that. But we as people have to be observant and watch a person's character, because that's very important, because you can tell if someone's either trying to use you and drain you, and that's not a nice thing. And then you're being played and used,
Mhm.
and in the end, you know you gave them everything you had, and you're just like nothing out of nowhere. You're disappointed, you're hurt, you're rejected. So again, just make sure that you're just being watchful and observe a person's character.
You brought up a good point. It made me think about uh the viral what was it, TikTok or reel or video that went around um about the guy that brought McDonald's for his child
Oh, okay.
and didn't bring it for other people. Now, everyone has their opinion in regards to that. Um, Me personally, a person that is has a good heart or came from a good background, or or just like to do things for others, they would have brought McDonald's for everybody, right?
Yeah.
They would have brought McDonald's for everybody. And nothing's wrong with that. Nothing is wrong with that. But you also can't fault the person for just doing what he needed to do, which is taking care of his child. So I
Yeah.
think that you brought a good point, because there are a lot of people was out here, trying to manipulate the situation, saying, "Oh, he was wrong for buying McDonald's for just one kid and there was other kids." And I think it just comes down to the point of he was taking care of his child.
Mhm.
You can't fault him for taking care of his child. Some people do have good hearts, some people do go out their way to take care of others, but he's not wrong for doing what he had to do for his specific child, and you can't manipulate that situation to try to make him feel bad, like we talked
Exactly.
about, to make him feel
Exactly.
bad for doing for his child.
And I, like you said, you have your opinion. I can totally agree with you. I mean, if he had the extra money, obviously I don't know the person, and personally, maybe he would have, went out of his way and bought the other kids McDonald's.
Hmm.
But maybe he didn't have it. He was just doing. The mother, I'm saying, she probably called him, was like, "Hey, the kid is hungry. Ain't got no food in the house, so he's gonna bring food for his kid." And if he had it, he had it. I personally think he probably would have done it, but he was doing his part as a father to his child. You know, it's okay. Once again, if he had a good heart, he would have probably done it.
Right.
But in this situation, as he directed in the video, he did point out where the fathers of the other kids. You know,
Right. That was a
you
good point.
know that was the where's the father of these other kids? Where are they at? Just because he's doing something for his kids, for his kid, which is his kid, and she was already in a relationship. She already had kids when they were together. But things, you got to understand, things change once you're out of that relationship. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Hmm.
So if
He's
it's
not
up to
obligated. That's
him, exactly, it's up to him to want to choose to do for those other kids. He
right.
doesn't, exactly. It doesn't. He's not. You can't force someone to do something. If he doesn't want to, whether he has a good heart or not. You know.
I agree. And me personally, I mean, what's done is done. But me personally, I would have just picked up the child and took him. That's just
Exactly.
me personally. Um, but to teach his own. I mean, everybody handled things differently.
Hmm.
And that was just the way that he wanted to handle it. We cannot wrong him for doing what he had to do as a father and
Yeah.
the way that he handled it. So, oh boy, that was a whole situation.
Oh yes. Believe me, but I can agree. That was a whole situation, and it's just mind-boggling, like the opinions that are out there.
Mhm.
Well, if it was me, these are kids, But what if, my thing always goes back, but what if he did not have it?
Right, right. There's no
What if you did not have
transparency. A lot of people
exactly?
have their opinions on things and they don't look at both sides of the situation. They just look, they're very one-sided. But
Mhm,
to teach
true,
his
right?
own, to teach his own.
Yeah.
so, so yeah, that was a good point. We were speaking on manipulation, but yeah, don't let people pleasing take over your identity is what we're coming down to. Try to set
Mhm.
those healthy boundaries so that even if you enjoy and like making people happy, that you're able to balance out a portion of making people happy, not getting taking advantage of, and also taking care of yourself, because taking
Mhm.
care of yourself comes before anything.
Exactly.
Build that confidence to be able to say no. Take small steps and say
Mhm.
no. Practice in the mirror to say no.
Yep.
And even if you can do it, say no. If there is a challenge that you need to make for yourself, take 1 week and just say no to everything.
Mhm.
Because once you say no and you see the result after saying no, it would be easier for you to say no moving forward.
Yes, I agree.
And so then you'll be able to have that balance when you can be able to do something and it won't be a hinder on your heart when you aren't able to.
Yes, I agree. And also, Shanera, like, they people need to understand that it is, remember, it is okay to say no and don't have to say yes to everything. It's okay. It is okay. One, I think after a while, like Shanera was giving some tools there about looking in the mirror and saying no. After a while, you'll be able to say no, like if it's nothing. You'll be able to say yes, to certain things. You'll be able to say no to certain things, and you'll be able to eventually you'll have that balance and saying yes and no. And then that's how you know that when you come to that point, you'll learn that you have balanced out healthy and unhealthy boundaries that you
Mm,
have set for yourself, because that's very important, not only mentally but emotionally as well. Because we need to have that balance for ourselves,
right.
because people pleasing can cause low self-esteem, and it can cause the fear of rejection. And when we things like that we dwell on, and it causes so much emotion, such emotional damage and mental health, that sometimes we don't ever realize it, that these things are happening to us, but it really does affect you in so many ways.
It does. It does. And don't get me wrong. I mean, there's some good qualities about people pleasing out there as well. I mean, I'm
Mhm.
sure people that are able to make others happy, they have good social skills, good
Yes.
communication skills with interacting, being an extrovert and being able to connect with other people. I'm sure they do well when it comes to career goals or career advances, where they're able to agree on certain things with without saying no. That's
Yeah.
when the book comes into place where they're just like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. So I'm sure there's good things about it. You just have to learn to not be overwhelmed with everything that's going on.
Yes.
Um, and they have an attractive personality. Who doesn't like being around a person that has an attractive personality? I mean, that's definitely something that you can adapt to and that you have want to be around, or a person that's fun to be around, because um, they want to see everybody happy. They're not a
Yeah.
Debbie Downer. They don't want to see the negativity. They want to see people happy, and they want to do things for people to make you happy. You ever have those um, parties at work where everyone has to bring a dish in, like a
Yeah.
potluck, and you
Hmm.
have you always have that one person, no, I got it, let me clean up, I'll take care of everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they just have enjoyment of helping and doing things for others. So
Hmm.
don't think that there definitely is some dangers to being a people pleaser and not putting yourself first, which is my closing thought. But there's also some good things about being a people pleaser, and
Hmm.
be able to balance and look at the both ends, and just not get upset when you can't please everybody.
Hmm. True.
Do you have any
Very.
closing thoughts then, Jenny?
Um, I just want to say, as a person that was a people pleaser for such a long time, make sure that you put yourself first. Make sure that make sure once again you observe a person, look at their character, because not everyone means well. You know, not everyone, when somebody knows that they can take advantage of you, they will do it. And sometimes we're so blinded that we don't see it. And it's not a great feeling to once you understand, wow, this person's been taking advantage of me for so long and I didn't see it.
Hmm.
So, and then you get into a place where it's hurtful. So, once again, put yourself first, and it's okay to say no.
I like that.
Mhm.
All right, let's see if we have any comments here. Nope, no comments. You can go ahead and close.
Okay, thank you for tuning in, everyone. And as well, make sure you check out our uh, apparel, our self love attire. We have some nice t shirts. I have mine on tonight. Can't really see, but at www.uncommonwomen.net, as well as make sure you tune in next week for an amazing guest speaker. And everyone, stay uncommon. Good
Stay
night.
on comment.